Hello Year 2, how are you and welcome to today's reading lesson. Now our focus for today's reading lesson is on vocabulary, so we're going to be looking at some different words and phrases in a small extract of Fantastic Mr. Fox and using our knowledge of this vocabulary to help us understand the extract. So we're going to be picking out some words and phrases from the text, we're going to be looking at a word and the words around it to try and work out its meaning, and we're going to be looking at some words and phrases and deciding what that tells us about a certain character or a certain place in the book. Now, before we do that, I want to see how much you can remember from last lesson. Remember, we read the beginning of chapter 3, didn't we? So here are your retrieval questions for the beginning of chapter 3. Number 1, what did Mr. and Mrs. Fox decide to have for dinner? Number 2, where were the three farmers waiting? Number 3, what did Mr. Fox think that the soft rustling sound was? Okay, so if you need to, you can always go back and read the pages that I sent you last time to refresh your memory before you answer these questions. But if you can answer them from memory, that is also brilliant. Okay, so pause the video now and have a go at your retrieval questions. Okay, Year 2, so let's see how you got on. Well, number 1, what did Mr. and Mrs. Fox decide to have for dinner? Remember, they had this conversation right at the start of chapter 3, and they decided to have duck for dinner, didn't they? And so Mr. Fox was going down to the valley to get duck for their dinner. Okay, number 2, where were the three farmers waiting? Well, the three farmers were waiting just outside the entrance to the hole where Mr. Fox and his family lived, weren't they? And they were crouching behind a tree so that nobody could see them. Okay, number 3, what did Mr. Fox think that the soft rustling sound was? Well, he certainly didn't think it was the farmers, did he? Because he thought he was smarter than them. He thought it was a field mouse, didn't he? Or some other small animal. There we go. So well done if you remembered all of that. That's fantastic. Now let's move on to our pages for today. So today we are carrying on with chapter 3, and I've sent you the pages that you'll need on the resource Year 2 Reading, 27th of January, Resource 1, and you'll find a red line on the first page, and we're starting reading below that red line, okay? So if you'd like to get that resource out now, you can, but if you'd just like to listen to me, that's also okay. Okay, so just then, his sharp night eyes caught a glint of something bright behind a tree not far away. Okay, I want to stop there. It says in this sentence that he caught a glint of something. What does it mean by a glint? Does anybody know? Well, let's find out together. So it says his sharp night eyes caught a glint of something bright behind a tree not far away. So glint is a noun and it has one syllable. Going to clap it with me. 3, 2, 1, glint. Fantastic. And it means a tiny bright flash of light, okay? So he saw a glint of something bright, so it flashed behind the tree and it caught his eye. And some synonyms for this are sparkle, so you could see a sparkle behind the tree, or a glimmer of light behind the tree. Okay, so he's seen a little flash of light behind the tree, not far away. I wonder what it is. Let's carry on reading. It was a small silver speck of moonlight shining on a polished surface. Mr. Fox lay still, watching it. What on earth was it? Now it was moving. It was coming up and up. Great heavens! It was the barrel of a gun. Quick as a whip, Mr. Fox jumped back into his hole, and at that same instant the entire wood seemed to explode around him. Bang, bang! Bang, bang! Bang, bang! Okay, now, in the sentence after the one we looked at earlier, it says, it was a small silver speck of moonlight. What does it mean by a small speck of moonlight? Well, a speck is a noun, okay, and it has one syllable, like glint did. Clap it with me, 3, 2, 1, speck. And it means a tiny spot. So it says small, a small silver speck of moonlight, so a tiny little bit of moonlight. And you can say there was a speck of dirt on his t-shirt. That's how you could use it in another way, a tiny spot of dirt on his t-shirt. So some synonyms for this are dot, so a little dot of moonlight, or a little spot of moonlight. Okay, so let's carry on reading. We're on the next page now. So we've just heard the sounds when it feels like The wood is exploding around him. Okay, the smoke from the 3 guns floated upwards in the night air. Boggis and Bunsen Bean came out from behind their trees and walked towards the hole. Did we get him? Said Bean. One of them shone a flashlight on the hole, and there on the ground, in the circle of light, half in and half out of the hole, lay the poor, tattered, blood-stained remains of a fox's tail. Bean picked it up. We got the tail, but we missed the fox, he said, tossing the thing away. Okay, so on that page, we have the sentence, lay the poor, tattered, blood-stained remains of a fox's tail. What does it mean by tattered, do you think? What does it mean if something's tattered? Well, let's find out. So tattered is an adjective because it's describing the fox's tail, isn't it? And this word has 2 syllables. You ready to count them with me? Clap them with me, sorry. 3, 2, 1. Tattered. There we go. And it means old and torn. Okay, so the fox's tail was very torn and it was old looking. Okay, and you can use it, the word tattered, in another sentence to describe clothes. If you say her clothes were tattered, it means they're old and torn and she probably needs some new clothes. So some synonyms are torn and ripped. Okay, so the fox's tail is probably tattered and torn because he's caught only a small part of Mr. Fox's tail. Okay, so let's carry on with our reading. We're on the next page now, page 14. Dang and blast, said Boggis. We shot too late. We should have let fly the moment he poked his head out. He won't be poking it out again in a hurry, Bunce said. Bean pulled a flask from his pocket and took a swig of cider. Then he said, It'll take 3 days at least before he gets hungry enough to come out again. I'm not sitting around here waiting for that. Let's dig him out. Ah, said Boggis, now you're talking sense. We can dig him out in a couple of hours. We know he's there. I reckon there's a whole family of them down the hole, Bunce said. Then we'll have the lot. Get the shovels. Okay, so on that page, we had the sentence, Bean pulled a flask from his pocket and took a swig of cider. What does it mean if you take a swig of something? Well, let's find out. So a swig is a noun, okay, because he took a swig of cider. And it is 1 syllable. Clap along with me again. 3, 2, 1, swig. Okay, and it means a large, quick drink. So you drink quite a lot very quickly, okay? So you can say he took a swig of water or he took a swig of squash. That means that you take a large drink of water and you drink it very quickly. Maybe you're very, very thirsty, okay? And a synonym for this is gulp. Now, we finished reading the pages that we need for today. So now let's have a look at the skill that we're looking at, that of vocabulary. So today we had sequencing Suki the other day, and today to help us, we've got vocabulary Victor. Can you see him there? I like this one because it looks like my dog. Now, what does vocabulary Victor do? Well, he helps us to draw on knowledge of vocabulary to understand text. So like I said, we're going to be using vocabulary and phrases to help us understand the small extract that we've just read of Fantastic Mr. Fox. So this means that he helps you to think about the words the author uses and why he uses them. So some questions that Vocabulary Victor might ask us is, what does this word tell us about? Okay, so what does this word tell us about a character? What does this word tell us about a place? He could also ask, which word did the author use to describe? Okay, so if we're looking for a word to describe, we'll be looking for an adjective, won't we? And then he might also ask us, why did the author write this word in capital letters? Or why did the author write this word in italics? Or why has this word got an exclamation mark after it? Okay, now some types of questions that you might find for vocabulary. The first one, which is question number 8, can you see in the corner? It says, find and copy 2 words that describe how scared the king was. So there we go. We're finding 2 words to describe. So you need to look through the text and you will have to find 2 adjectives. Now remember, it says 2 words. So don't just write 1 word, you'd have to write 2 for that question. Then number 15, it says, look at the section headed reuse. Reuse, sorry. And then it says, find and copy the word that means the same as given away. Okay, so you're trying to find a synonym for given away, a word that means the same as given away. So you need to find it in the text and just copy it onto the line. So that's another type of question you could get. The number 17 says, my neck hides in a scarf. What does this mean? And you have to tick one, okay? If it says tick one, you only tick one. So it says the child's neck is hurting, the child is playing hide and seek, the child's neck is covered, the child's scarf is lost. Okay, so you have to work out what that means, what my neck hides in a scarf mean. Well, it means the child's neck is covered. So you tick just one box. And then the final type of question, number 7, then she had an idea. The word idea means, and you have to give the definition for an idea. So you have to tick one definition, either a dream, a thought, a feeling, or an adventure. Okay, so let's have a look at a question together.